Jeff Diaz.
Here.
Commissioner DJ Ferris.
Here.
Commissioner Marcia Franks.
Here.
Commissioner Steve Gwynn.
Here.
Commissioner John Moffitt.
Here.
Commissioner Joan Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Stacy Torbett.
Here.
Chairman John Grease.
Here. All right, thank you all. We have a quorum. At this point, Caitlin, if you'll read into the record the public disclaimer.
Yes. Notice of the April 29th, 2021 meeting of the Real Estate Commission, including date, time, and location, has been noticed on the Tennessee Real Estate website since April 26, 2021. Additionally, this month's agenda has been posted on the website since Monday, April 26, 2021.
Thank you. At the moment, we have one item on the agenda today. That's the subject of this special called meeting. Without objection from the balance of the commission, I'd like to add a second item that has to do with our discussion of next week's meeting in Jackson. We'll do that following the handling of the topic we came here for today. Any objection to that? If not, I'm going to, at the moment, turn this over to Anna Matlock, who will be a major player in this discussion today. But let's get the statement of necessity into the record. And remember, commissioners will have to vote on whether or not to adopt this statement of necessity. If we fail to do so, then we'll be done for the day. If, on the other hand, we get a majority of votes, we'll continue on with the agenda. Anna.
Okay, sorry. This is an electronic emergency meeting of the Tennessee Real Estate Commission. Notice of this meeting was posted to the Commission's website on Monday, April 26, 2021, and this agenda was posted the same day. As there is not a physical quorum present, a statement of necessity will be read into the record and filed with the Tennessee Secretary of State, as required by statute. Pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated Section 8-44-108B2, which states if a physical quorum is not present at the location of a meeting of a governing body, then in order for a quorum of members to participate by electronic or other means of communication, the governing body must make a determination that a necessity exists. That determination must include a recitation of the facts and circumstances on which it was based. Further, Tennessee Code Annotated Section 8-44-108A3 defines necessity as matters to be considered by the governing body at that meeting require timely action by the body, that physical presence by the governing body at that meeting is not practical by electronic or other means of communication and is necessary. As stated, this is an emergency meeting of the Tennessee Real Estate Commission being held via Cisco WebEx. The purpose of this meeting with members attending by Cisco WebEx is to make a determination whether summary suspension of a licensee is appropriate pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated Section 4-5-320. Voting will be conducted by roll call.
Thank you, Anna. Now, commissioners, as your name is called, if you're in favor of adopting that statement of necessity, you'll vote yes. If you're opposed, you'll vote no. Caitlin.
Commissioner Joe Begley.
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Diaz.
Yes.
Commissioner DJ Ferris.
Yes.
Commissioner Marcia Franks.
Yes.
Commissioner Steve Gwynn.
Yes.
Commissioner John Moffitt.
Yes.
Commissioner Joan Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy Torbett.
Yes.
Chairman John Grease.
Yes. That motion passes, and we're free to continue on with this meeting. Let me just say this, Commissioners, before we get started. This type of meeting is fairly rare. Most of you have never had one or participated in one before because we don't have that many special called meetings for a summary suspension. And Anna will tell you that a summary suspension is a temporary suspension until we can get to a formal hearing to discuss all the facts. But that's what we have in front of us today as a first agenda item. So because it's a little bit more formal, I'm going to read a statement into the record, and then we'll get started. Okay? It is 8:40 Central Standard Time on April 29th, 2021. And this is John Grease, Chair of the Tennessee Real Estate Commission of the State of Tennessee's Department of Commerce and Insurance. As previously established, we have 9 members, which establishes a quorum. As far as I can tell, all 9 members are participating by WebEx and nobody's participating solely by telephone. If you will, and I don't know if you all have the same screen I do, but if you will, state your name for the record, please. So let's start with Jeff Diaz.
Good morning, this is Jeff Diaz.
John Moffitt,
This is John Moffitt.
DJ,
DJ Ferris.
Joan,
Joan Smith.
Joe,
Joe Begley.
Marcia,
Marcia Franks.
Stacy,
Stacy Torbett.
and Steve.
Steve Gwynn.
Thank you. We also have staff present. I'll note that we have 3 staff members present that I'm aware of. Would each of you, starting with Caitlin, state your name and your job description?
Yes, Caitlin Maxwell, Executive Director.
Anna,
This is Anna Matlock, Board Attorney.
Aaron,
Aaron Smith, Admin Assistant.
thank you all. Any other staff present that would like to be identified or like to identify themselves? All right, if not, is the respondent present? Respondent is Michael Burchett. Mr. Burchett, are you present? Is there an attorney representing Mr. Burchett? So once again, Michael Burchett, are you present, or do you have counsel representing you that is present? All right, at this moment, I don't believe either party is here, so let's continue. The respondent, as I stated in this matter, is Michael Burchett, an affiliate real estate broker. Fellow board members, this item is on the agenda in accordance with Tennessee Code Annotated 4-5-320, which requires the commission to hold an informal hearing to determine if the conduct and facts of the licensee warrants a summary suspension and to provide the licensee an opportunity to present their version of the facts. Let me check once more. Mr. Burchett, are you here? Or counsel for Mr. Burchett? All right. At this time, then I'm going to ask Anna Matlock, attorney from the Legal Division for Regulatory Boards, to address the panel on this matter. And I will note that I believe Caitlin has just recently sent a couple of documents via email, so you may want to check that as you listen to Anna. Anna, go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm here to present to you the facts and violations regarding Mr. Michael Burchett. Michael Mike Keith Burchett was initially licensed on March 6, 2007 and issued a license number 310919. On or about April 20th, 2001, a TREC 1 form was submitted to the commission, broker releasing Mr. Burchett. Prior to this, Mr. Burchett was affiliated with TN Realty, LLC, license number 263495, located in Franklin, Tennessee. The current principal broker of TN Realty, LLC is Mr. Timothy Ray Earls, license number 299547. On or about April 12th, 2021, the grand jury in Williamson County Circuit Court Criminal in matter W-CR-210163 returned a true bill indicting Mr. Burchett on 3 separate criminal charges. If you will now open your combined PDF exhibit document that Caitlin sent to you this morning, does everyone have that open? Okay. On page 2.
One second, Anna.
Sure.
Get it open. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. On page 2 and 3, you will find exhibit 1, which is a copy of the indictment. The indictment includes 3 separate charges. 1 count of theft over $250,000, 1 count of criminal simulation over $250,000, and 1 count of money laundering. Specifically, the indictment accuses Mr. Burchett of the following. In 2018, Mr. Burchett did unlawfully and knowingly obtain or exercise control over the property, to wit, U.S. currency, of a value of greater than $250,000 without the effective consent of the owner, Mr. Chaoyo Gao, and with the intent to deprive the owner thereof. In 2018, Mr. Burchett did unlawfully and with the intent to defraud or harm another, make or alter an object, a warranty deed purporting to transfer real estate in Williamson County, Tennessee, being lot number 24 on plan of McKay's Hill PUD. Subdivision Section 2, Alexandria area of record in Plat Book 27, page 62 in the Registrar's Office of Williamson County, Tennessee, from Mr. William and Patty Blandon as grantors and Mr. Xiaoyang Gao as grantee, with said document having apparent value in amount over $250,000. And in 2018, Mr. Burchett unlawfully, knowingly, and feloniously did use or conspired to use or attempt to use proceeds derived directly or indirectly from a specified unlawful activity with the intent to conceal or disguise the nature, location, source, ownership, or control of the derived proceeds. In short, Mr. Burchett is accused of using forged documents and deceiving his client into thinking he purchased a home for about $495,000. In reality, Mr. Burchett is accused of converting these funds for personal use and sold the property in question to another client. Beginning on or about April 19, 2021, this information was soon circulated in several publications. If you will now turn to page 5, and it goes through page 17, you will see combined Exhibit 2, which contains the following: a press release from the Franklin Police Department, a news article from the Tennessean, a news article from Fox 17, a news article from the Williamson Herald, a news article from WKRN, and a news article from the Williamson Source. Mr. Burchett was arrested and charged with the offenses previously mentioned. Presently, Mr. Burchett is free on $50,000 bond. As a result, from this information, the program administratively opened a complaint against Mr. Burchett. On or about April 22, 2021, Mr. Burchett moved his affiliate broker real estate license into a retired status. At the same time, on or about April 22, 2021, Mr. Burchett was sent notice of this informal conference via certified mailing to the address provided on his licensure profile. Per the United States Postal Office Service website, it was confirmed that this mailing was delivered to the address provided and accepted by an agent for final delivery on April 26, 2021 at 2:25 p.m. Along with this notice detailing the statutes violated, Mr. Burchett was served with a proposed order of summary suspension. Based on the foregoing information, Mr. Burchett has violated the Tennessee Real Estate Broker License Act of 1973. In the notice, the following violations of the statutes were cited. Tennessee Code annotated section 62-13-312B provides that the commission shall have the power to refuse a license for cause or to suspend or revoke a license where a licensee in performing or attempting to perform any of the actions mentioned therein is found guilty of. Section 312B1 states making any substantial and willful misrepresentation. Section B2, making any promise of a character likely to influence, persuade, or induce any person to enter into any contract or agreement with the licensee could not or did not intend to keep the promise. 312 Section B3, pursuing a continued and flagrant use of misrepresentation or making false promises through affiliate brokers, other persons, and in any medium of advertising or otherwise. Section B5, failing within a reasonable time to account for or to remit any monies coming into licensee's possession that belong to others. 312 Section B14, violating any provision of this chapter, any rule duly promulgated and adopted under this chapter, or the terms of any lawful order entered by the Commission. Section B20, any conduct, whether the same or different from that specified in this subsection B, that constitutes fraudulent or dishonest dealing. Tennessee Code annotated 62-13-402B states a real estate licensee shall owe all parties to a transaction the duties enumerated in Section 403. A licensee shall owe the licensee's client the duties enumerated in Sections 404. Section 403 provides duties to all parties, and Section 404 provides duties owed to clients. As stated before, the summary suspension process is not utilized often. It is most appropriately used as a remedy when emergency action is necessary for the benefit of public health, safety, or welfare requires it. In this particular instance, it is necessary and imperative for the protection of the public safety and welfare of Tennessee residents. Even though Mr. Burchett's license is presently in retired status, that is not permanent. All Mr. Burchett would have to do to satisfy what is required to move a license from retired into active, which means providing a fee, completing the TREC form, providing proof of current errors and emissions insurance, and affiliate with the licensed real estate firm. If Mr. Burchett fulfills the requirements previously stated, this commission has no discretion to prevent a change in Mr. Burchett's license status. All it takes is for one principal broker to say yes. The allegations made against Mr. Burchett are substantial. It is this commission's job to not only enforce the rules and statutes of the Act and its regulations, but also to protect the public and consumers from harm. We are still in the process of fact gathering. The purpose of this informal conference is not to evaluate the evidence presented or what future information may or not be obtained. That is reserved for a final hearing. When formal charges are filed, Mr. Michael Burchett will have the opportunity to call witnesses and cross-examine witnesses and put on the necessary proof he needs to prove or disprove his case. Your sole job today is to determine whether the public health, safety, or welfare imperatively requires the commission to immediately suspend the license of Mr. Burchett. When deliberating and making this decision, it is necessary for you to incorporate findings in order to summarily suspend the license. Following this proof, and at the appropriate time during your deliberations, in a separate PDF, you will see titled Proposed Order of Summary Suspension. You'll find a proposed order with drafted facts. This order and these facts can be accepted entirely, in part, or not at all. The Commission has been given the statutory authority to take summary suspension and action, and therefore will need to make a decision. You have two options. Option 1 is to take no action. Option 2 is to move to summarily suspend Mr. Burchett's license. Tennessee Code annotated section 4-5-320 states in pertinent part that if an agency finds that the public health, safety, or welfare imperatively requires emergency action and incorporates a finding to that effect in its order, summary suspension of a license may be ordered pending proceedings for revocation or other action. If you do not believe that you can remain impartial while reviewing and deliberating this matter, it is appropriate to recuse yourself from both discussion and voting. Real estate transactions include some of the largest transactions, if not the largest, of an individual's life. The profession requires great skill and care of licensees to all parties in a transaction. It is important to be able to trust your real estate agent with not only guiding you through a purchase of a real estate, but also your money. The residents of this state deserve to have its health, safety, and welfare protected by the licensing entity that provides licenses to those that could potentially harm citizens of Tennessee. I urge and recommend the Commission to summarily suspend Mr. Michael Burchett's affiliate real estate broker license as imperatively necessary to protect the citizens of Tennessee. Thank you.
Okay, Anna, thank you. Commissioners, would you like, we'll discuss it, but does everybody understand what the allegations are? Everybody got it? All right, perfect. With that, the floor is open for discussions.
Mr.
DJ.
Chairman, do we need a motion before we discuss it?
Well, let's just kick around. Let's just talk a
Okay.
little bit, and then we'll go to that. DJ.
For the record, and I put this in to our staff here, this is the first I've heard of this matter. And upon seeing the documents that were provided at the beginning of this meeting and hearing Ms. Matlock read off the documents, I've learned that I know and would consider the principal broker an acquaintance. I don't think that that is going to play into my role as a commissioner in deliberating this matter, but I wanted that to be on the record, and I definitely don't want anything to come out that might call back any action taken today by this commission. So I will put that before your advice and direction for council and for the executive director.
So DJ, is strictly about what you're comfortable with. If you think you can make a decision, I mean, it's good. I mean, we hope you know a lot of these players, frankly, because that means you're active in the marketplace and you know what consumers are having to deal with. So the fact you know somebody is not a disqualifier.
Okay.
It's what your comfort level is.
Right. I would just want to reiterate to the Commission that the standard that we use in this process, as well as complaints and during the meetings, is whether you believe you can be impartial to the matters that are performed before you. So if you think you believe you can be impartial, then you may proceed. But if not, then it is appropriate to recuse yourself.
Thank you. I'm good to go.
Perfect. All right, commissioners, any other opening statements before Ms. Franks makes a motion? Marcia, let's get something on the floor to discuss. What's your motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we immediately summary suspend Mr. Michael Burchett.
Is there a second? Mr. Diaz seconds the motion. Now, let's have some discussion. Marcia, why do you feel that motion is appropriate?
I feel it's appropriate. I learned about this when the Franklin Police Department called me about it. I checked with our Caitlin and our attorneys as to whether I should recuse myself also. I do not know Mr. Burchett or his principal broker, but I did receive a phone call from the Franklin Police wanting to get in touch with the Real Estate Commission. What the police told me was that he represented a couple in China and sold them a $495,000 house, and he fraudulently prepared documents that showed that the house closed and sent those to China, and they unfortunately sent their check to Mr. Burchett. And Mr. Burchett put that money in his own personal account, and then he actually even resold the house again. So for those reasons, as the police department told me, these are very serious felonies that we're looking at here. And for that reason, we need to make sure that he can no longer harm the public.
Thank you. Discussion. Now, let me, Jeff, go ahead.
I tend to agree with the Commissioner Franks. I do want to say, just to remind everybody, these are allegations. He hasn't been found guilty, but it is important that we protect the public until he has his day in court. And, you know, they rule whether he's actually guilty of these charges or not. But I intend to support the motion.
So procedurally, if this commission does suspend Mr. Burchett's license, then we will move at some point to a formal hearing where he can present any facts, and could today, as a matter of fact, if he were in attendance, we go to a formal hearing setting, which you all are familiar with. And just one quick question I'd like to ask you. On page 7 of exhibit, one with all the newspaper articles, there's a article in the Tennessean that says he is due in court on April 28th, which was yesterday. You know what happened there?
I do not have that information at this time. I do know that he is free on bail. I'm going to believe that it would probably be an arraignment of the charges that are provided and possibly scheduling for future hearings.
And let me say for the record, when I read something in a newspaper, I don't necessarily believe it. So I'm not saying that it actually did happen anyhow. All right.
Mr.
So
Chairman,
as we discussed, yes.
I would remind everyone that he did go before the grand jury, which is members of our community that thought that there was enough evidence to indict him. So it's not just gone before the police department. He has been indicted.
So it's the commission's role not to make a decision today about guilt or innocence, but to consider the charges and decide whether those charges by themselves are enough to get this license suspended for a period of time so we can get set up for a formal hearing to discuss it. As Anna said, we're not here to judge today. Steve?
A question: how did what triggered us getting to today? Was it the police talking to Marcia, or was it other? I'm just not familiar with this type of hearing, and how do we get, you know, what series of events happened that got us to where we are today? In the event that it sounded like the offense possibly happened in 2018, so just curious about how we got here.
Sure, so I can fill in some of those answers. As stated, the actual event happened in 2018, but the indictment came from the grand jury on April 12th, 2021. And so it was brought to our attention following the information that was provided by press release and noted from our communications team. So following that, we had discussions of what needed to happen, and we proposed holding an emergency meeting to determine if summary suspension was appropriate based on the facts that we currently have. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just, does that mean then we have people throughout the state that are looking at newspapers for this type of offense, or is it just it came to our attention because it was in the newspaper, or?
No, we don't
I'm
have
just,
individuals that are looking for things in the newspaper. I actually believe that our reporter contacted our department, and following that, we had a discussion about it before. I will say, just for clarity purposes, we have been made known of other instances in the past that have been circulated in various newspapers and news articles. So it is not uncommon for this information to be relayed to the commission or the program in some form or fashion.
all right, great, thanks.
Other comments? Yes.
I guess for me, it's more of a question of process. So would we hold off convening a formal hearing until after it's adjudicated in courts? Or would we have our formal hearing before that? I guess that's for council.
The formal hearing would be before that. So it's at that hearing, we would make a determination of what to do with Mr. Burchett's license.
Other discussion, Joe?
So Anna, would we have a formal hearing regardless or only if he requested one?
It depends. So if if you decide to summarily suspend Mr. Burchett's license today, we will have a formal hearing. If you do not decide to summarily suspend his license, then we'll make that determination at another date, as we do have an open complaint on file. So that would be presented to the commission at a different time with a recommendation. So it is likely that a formal hearing will occur in either way, but right now, for sure, if we granted summary suspension. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so if we grant the summary today, no matter what Mr. Burchett's desires are, we're going to have a formal hearing. But,
Yes.
okay. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? So, Joan Smith, please.
Yes, but we really don't have a time frame on the formal hearing. Is that what I'm hearing you say, Anna?
The time frame, it will be because of the summary suspension coming to you, it'll be coming kind of quickly, so it's not going to be something that would be set out like months later.
Thank you.
Back to Jeff's comment earlier. For me, that puts us in a little bit of a predicament in the sense that you're thinking that's going to come before the his day in court, let's say. So we're going to be making a ruling in the formal hearing before we know what the state has done legally. If we do the summary today, is that right, Anna?
Yes, likely, unless some other action were to occur. But I would just remind you and the commission members that what we decide to do with his real estate license that we provide from the department is separate from any kind of criminal or civil proceeding that happens. So based on the facts that we have at this time, that is how this would proceed. And then at the formal hearing, if Mr. Burchett is present, that will be the time where a decision would need to be made whether on what final discipline, if any, would need to occur. This decision today is only making a determination whether you believe the public health, safety, or welfare requires summary suspension.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments? So before we vote, let me just say one thing. The grand jury, when they chose to indict Mr. Burchett, only heard one side of the story. And so they basically said, if these facts are true, then should he go to trial? And apparently the grand jury opined that it should be sent up for a trial. Our charge today is to go, well, if these facts are true, is there a chance that the public's health, safety, and welfare is at risk? And we're not ruling necessarily in the facts, but the question is, do you want to take its license off the market until we have a formal hearing to determine the facts? That's what Ms. Frank's motion is, and that's what we'll be voting. I want you to use that mindset when you vote. Any further discussion? This will recall Jeff.
Anna, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but if you could give your best guess about as to how long it would be until the courts hear the case.
You're right. I do not have a crystal ball. I think that maybe
Anna?
this matter. Sorry.
Anna,
Yes?
hi, this is Mark. Hey, this could go. Commissioner Diaz, it could go. I mean, it could go over a year, so we don't know. But what we do know is that one of many things could happen in this process. Mr. Burchett may decide that he doesn't want a formal hearing for the commission prior to his criminal case being heard, and he may be, we may be able to enter an agreement with him that will be disposed of prior to a hearing before you. So there's several left turns that could take before we really know, exactly when this will get presented to the commission and whether it will be before the criminal case is heard and disposed of or after. We don't have to wait until after because we have under administrative law, it's a different burden of proof. There are different standards to consider, and so the law says we need to have it within a reasonable time, but that does not preclude from entering into an agreement to wait until the criminal case is disposed of if the parties all agree to that. So does that kind of give some guidance on how that takes place? It's kind of fluid right now. We don't really know exactly how things are going to play out at this point.
Right. I mean, he could take a plea deal tomorrow, for instance. And
right. Exactly.
Okay.
Hey, Mark, would you identify yourself for the record, please, and your position?
Yes, I apologize. This is Mark Green, Deputy General Counsel for the Regulatory Board's Legal Division.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks, Mark. We're always glad to have you. Of course, we can't see you because you've called in.
I have.
I don't know what you look. I don't know what you look like today. I don't know whether you've shaved or what you've done. So, just want to throw that in.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I know we've had a couple of other people join besides Mr. Green. Could you ask if the respondent or their counsel is present?
Thank you. Good point. Mr. Burchett, are you now with us? Is counsel representing Mr. Burchett with us? I think not, Jeff. Thanks for bringing that up, though. All right, Steve.
One more question. I noticed this is the grand jury of Williamson County. Would this at some point go to a federal grand jury? Or do
We don't know that at this time. Right now, we only have state charges from Williamson County. But it is possible. I do not know that information at this time.
Okay, thank you.
All right, other questions, comments before we vote? Motion is to summarily suspend the license of Michael Burchett pending a formal hearing. Date and time to be determined. All right, we're going to call the roll. When your name is called, if you're in favor of the motion, please vote yes. If you're opposed, please vote no. Caitlin?
Commissioner Joe Begley,
Yes.
Commissioner Jeff Diaz,
Yes.
Commissioner DJ Ferris,
Yes.
Commissioner Marcia Franks,
Yes.
Commissioner Steve Gwynn,
Yes.
Commissioner John Moffett,
Yes.
Commissioner Joan Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy Torbett,
Yes.
Chairman John Grease.
Yes. All right, that motion passes unanimously on a 9-0 vote. Based on the information presented, Jeff, go ahead.
Ella, is it premature to open up for affiliate brokers, principal broker? It feels like a failure to supervise to me.
So, like this complaint, I believe that it is your prerogative if you would like to administratively open a complaint against a principal broker, that can be done as well. You would just need to have a decision or conversation in motion.
But we have no evidence yet about the principal broker.
Right. That is correct. It's just I was answering Commissioner Diaz, so that is something else you would like to take into consideration.
Jeff, I've got to read a paragraph into the record, and then we'll come to your discussion of that item. Based on the information presented, the Commission determines that the health, safety, and welfare of the public imperatively require emergency action and hereby orders the affiliate real estate broker license of Mr. Michael Burchett, license number 310919, is summarily suspended as of April 29th, 2021, pending the formal hearing to be set in this matter. So we have handled the topic we came here to handle today. We've got a second topic. I want to go to Jeff's question about whether or not this commission senses it's appropriate to administratively open a complaint against the principal broker.
And Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Franks.
I have no idea who his principal broker was in 2018 either. I don't know if it was this person or someone else. So that's why I would be worried about opening a case against the principal broker until we know more evidence.
So, commissioners, we can put that decision off if you'd like. Generally, Jeff, the standard I use, at least initially, is did the principal broker release the licensee? And if suddenly he found out about it, broker released the licensee, that to me tells me he's probably okay. I don't know that it happened here or not. We can ask staff if they can check on that for us, or we can go ahead and take a motion, Jeff, if you want to start with that. Okay. With that said, then, any other discussion about Mr. Michael Burchett or his broker, his 2018 broker? If not, Caitlin, let's move to Jackson's meeting and give us details that you have.
Yes, so we are still set for Jackson next Friday. Um, Hotel reservations have been made for the night prior for all of those who requested it. Anybody that said they did not want one does not have one. And that is at the DoubleTree in Jackson. So I will follow up with the address and that information. In addition, it was important to the department that we offer an option for all those that maybe don't feel comfortable attending in person to also be able to attend virtually. And so we've done some testing this week with the Jackson City Hall. And so if anyone doesn't feel comfortable attending in person, you can attend via WebEx. We tested it yesterday, and they have a big projector in their room, so the commission will be able to see anybody that's on WebEx. And we tested the sound as well, and so that will integrate into their media system. So if you will let me know, I can also email if anyone is interested in that option as opposed to attending in person. And then lastly, we are organizing dinner the night before. So I'll send details about that as well. But I will send, I can send everybody the WebEx link. And if you'll just let me know, and I can cancel any hotel reservations that might have been made if you thought about attending in person and now want to attend virtually.
Any questions? So, Joan, the Jackson City Hall, how far away is that from the DoubleTree? 15 minutes?
No, probably 5 minutes. It's
Good.
not far. No. Hey, we're rural. Isn't that right, Steve? Everything's closed, unless traffic's bad.
Is this where we stayed the last time?
It is, yes. Yes,
Okay, yeah, both
everything
are good
is,
facilities and close by.
yeah, everything is same location as last time, same room. So
And I think they're planning on dinner the night before in the same location where you went before.
yep, it'll be like deja vu, except 2 years later.
Yeah. Are you bringing?
Joan, what's the name of the restaurant? I wasn't there whenever it happened.
TJ Mulligan's.
Yes,
Okay.
and I'll send all this in an email with address information and all those details.
Is anybody bringing their families? Nobody bringing families?
Stacy is.
No, I'm not. I had a question. Do we have to wear masks in the meeting?
So I think ultimately it's whatever everyone's comfortable with. You can obviously wear your mask if that is your preference. We have checked with the building. There is not a mask mandate in Madison County currently, and the building is also just asked that attendees do whatever they're comfortable with.
And the building tends to be cold. So if you're cold like me, you might bring a jacket or a sweater of some sort because it tends to be a little chilly in there. And the reason I ask if you were bringing your families, on Friday is the Grand Floats Parade, and I think the Clydesdales are going to be here.
You think they could stop by the meeting?
I don't know. We'll ask and see. We'll ask if they'll make a road trip around.
Bring that Budweiser truck around with them?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right. Any other questions about next Friday's meeting? You'll get details from Caitlin shortly, Joe.
Caitlin, thanks for making the Zoom possible for people that may not make it. I plan on making it. My daughter through that she graduates on Saturday from ETSU nursing, and she has a pinning ceremony on Friday night. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but I appreciate the staff doing that. I know it wasn't for me, but just making it possible. Thanks.
Joe,
Congratulations to your daughter.
Thank you.
and to you, Joe, that would be an easy decision if your daughter's got a pinning ceremony on Friday night.
Yes.
And you can
Yes.
attend.
Yes.
I think I can handle that. Steve.
In light of the governor's recent announcement on a going forward basis, looking ahead to June and beyond, do we think that we're back to live meetings going forward, or is that too hard to say at this point, or what's your thought on that?
The remote meeting has been removed from the executive order. So I think unless that changes, we could, meet in person moving forward.
So, Steve, that's a good question. Kaylin, and we've made some exceptions to our rules and statute because of the governor's order. Now that that's expired, for instance, approval of education courses, what changes?
That is still in there. That allowance is still in the order.
So
It
we're
was
allowed,
ju-
yeah, sorry, go ahead. It
No, you
continues
go ahead.
until the,
Yeah.
so we've been allowing individuals extra time to complete certain continuing education requirements. That is a provision that did remain in the order, so that will expire at the end of May 31st. Don't know if it's going to be continued, but that one part is still in place.
And we extended the amount of time you had to get your license after you've taken the test. Is that changed at this point?
No, that was still under that provision. So that allowance is still in effect until that section is taken out of the order.
All right. Any other questions? Any other comments? We appreciate your attendance today. Hopefully we don't have too many of these special call emergency meetings for this type of purpose, but it happens. It's good we can get together quickly and get it handled. So with that said, I'm going to adjourn this meeting, and we'll see you all in person or on screen next Friday. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Safe travels.
Have a good weekend.